Hi Algebra 1. Alright, so this is a video about section 3.4, which is graphing linear equations in standard form. Okay, so you should be on page 121 in your binder. And what we're going to do here is just kind of go over the equation, some of the rules for the equation, and then we'll do a few example problems. We'll graph a few problems on the next page, and then we'll be done. Okay, so hopefully you're at the right page now. So standard form. So when we take an equation, we want to represent it on a graph, okay? And if it's got two variables, an x and a y, then we would graph it on the xy plane that we're used to seeing graphs drawn on, okay? So standard form, let's write it down here. Standard form is capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. Okay, that's the formula for standard form. So when we're writing an equation in standard form, or when we're given an equation in standard form, it's going to look like this. It's going to be something times x plus something times y equal to a number, a constant. Okay, and we have some rules, so restrictions about how this equation has to be. So the rules about this equation are that the number a in front of x, a must be positive. Okay, a must be positive. And then another rule that we have is that there can be no fractions. No fractions. Okay, so based on those rules, we're going to try to take these equations, like let's look at number 1. So the directions say rewrite the equations so that they are in standard form. Then find the x and y intercepts. Okay, so first let's start off with just rewriting the equations so they're in standard form. So our job is going to be to make it look like standard form up at the top of the screen right now. So we got to get the x and the y together on the same side. We want to make sure a is positive, and we want to make sure that there are no fractions. So the first thing I'm going to do is to try to get rid of the fraction. So I want to get rid of the fraction. The denominator is 4, so what I'm going to do is multiply the entire equation, both sides. I'm going to multiply everything by 4, and you got to be careful. You got to multiply everything. So I'm going to go through and go 4y plus 20, because 4 times 5 is 20, equals. Now when I multiply the fraction by 4, the denominator and the 4 are going to cancel, so I'm just going to be left with negative 5x. Okay, that canceled with that. Now I still have to do 4 times negative 2, so that's minus 8. Now look at my equation. It's a lot nicer now because there's no fractions in it. So here, my next job is to get the x's to the same, or the x and the y to the same side. So I'm going to add 5x, add 5x. So now I'm going to end up with x and y on the same side. So let's watch what happens. I have 5x plus 4y plus 20 equals negative 8. Okay. And then if I want to get the x and y alone, I need to move the 20. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. Okay, and I'm going to be left with 5x plus 4y equals negative 28. And that's going to be my standard form equation. And we see a is positive. A is the number in front of x, so 5. 5 is positive. And there are no fractions. So we're going to try number 2. When I look at number 2, I notice two things right away. X and y are already on the same side, but I have a fraction, the 3/4, so I'm going to need to get rid of that. And the x term, so a, is negative, so I'm going to need to make it positive. So what I'm going to do, just like the last one, I'm going to multiply by 4 to get rid of the fractions. But I also want to make this positive, so I'm going to multiply by negative 4. And what that does is when I multiply this term here by negative 4, the negative times the negative become positive. So let's do the multiplying. The negative 4 and the 4 here, we're going to cancel. So I'm just going to get positive 3x. You got to be careful. It's not going to be 12 because the 4's are canceling, and then the negatives are canceling. Okay, but I also have to multiply 4 by 2y. Sorry, negative 4 by 2y. So that's going to give me negative 8y equals, and then negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. Look at that, one step. And I've got all my rules accomplished here. Positive 3x plus 8, or minus 8y equals negative 28. We're done. Okay, now I want to try number 3. Okay. And so what we see is we've got some parentheses here. Okay, that actually makes this kind of nice. What I can do, same first step, is I got to get rid of my fraction, so I'm going to multiply everything by 5. So on the left side I get 5y. But on the right side, okay, because this has parentheses in it, when I multiply the 5 by this, the 5 and the denominator 5 cancel, and I'm left with negative 3 parentheses x plus 10. I don't have to multiply the 5 to anything else, okay, because this whole side is only one multiplication problem, so there's nothing to distribute it to. I just multiply it to the 5 on the outside, okay? And then let's distribute. So now I'm going to get 5y equals negative 3x minus 30. And let's add 3x to both sides. Get my x and y on the same side. 3x plus 5y equals negative 30. Okay. The last one I want to do real quickly is number 5 on this page. Because what you'll notice is there's no x. That's weird. So instead, I'm just going to get my y's together, so combine like terms. Minus y, so I get 1y. 2y, take away y, is just y, equals negative 6. That's my answer. All right, let's flip the page. Remember, if you need to go back and see something again, just rewind the video or pause it to finish copying something down or to process it. All right, so what we didn't do on the last page, which we should have done, and we'll do it here, is to find the x and y intercepts. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. So let's take a look at number 7. All right. Remember, the x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis, and the x-axis is down here. Right? The x-axis is the horizontal one, the y-axis is the vertical one. So I'm looking for the x and y intercepts. So what we're going to do, notice this equation is already in standard form, ax plus by equals c. 3x minus 5y equals 15. Right? So what we're going to do to find the x and y intercepts is plug 0 in for both x and y separately. Okay, so first I'm going to find x. And if I want to find the x-intercept, I should be able to solve for x. So I don't want to get rid of x, I want to get rid of y. So what I'm going to do is go 3x minus 5 times 0 equals 15. Because that 0 is going to, 5 times 0 is 0. It's going to allow me to solve for x here. So 3x equals 15, x equals 5. And so before you do anything, let's write down a point. X is 5 because we just found it. What did we make y? We made it 0. So the coordinates, the ordered pair is 5, 0. And if I go to graph that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. That's right there. So let me draw that point in. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing with the x. I feel like this is kind of in the way. I can't get rid of that, though. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with the y. So now I want to find the y-intercept. I want to be able to solve for y, so I should make the x 0. So I go 3 times x, 3 times 0, minus 5y equals 15. And now I'm going to solve this little equation for y. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, so I get negative 5y equals 15. Divide, y equals negative 3. And I can write that as an ordered pair as well. That's telling me that y is negative 3, and remember, we made x 0. So we're choosing to make y 0 in the first one and x 0 in the second one to figure out what the other coordinate would be. So now I have this point 0, comma, negative 3. That's going to be at 0 is my x, and then down 3 for y. So that's where that point's going to be. And now I can draw my line. So just connect those 2 points, extend it out a little bit in both directions, and there you have it. Let's do a couple more. Let's try 8 real quick. So in number 8, you check, is it in standard form? Yeah. So let's find the 2 intercepts. So remember, for x, I just make y 0, because I want to solve for x. So leave x in it, make y 0. So 16x plus 8 times 0 equals negative 32. So 16x equals negative 32. And when I divide both sides by 16, I get x equals negative 2, which leaves me with the point negative 2, comma, 0. Negative 2, comma, 0. Remember, we made y 0. So that's going to be to the left here, right? Negative 2 is 1, 2, comma, 0. So let's put that point down. Then we'll do y. Okay, guys, let's be a little bit more efficient here. If I'm doing y, I need to make x 0 because I want to solve for y. So if x is 0, what's 16 times 0? It's 0. That's just going to go away. We hide it. So we just have 8y equals negative 32, or y equals negative 4. So, oops, I got to write my ordered pair. The y coordinate is negative 4, so the x coordinate is 0. Sometimes what I've found helps people with this kind of problem is right at the beginning, right? If you know it's in standard form, give yourself the 2 ordered pairs at the beginning and make x 0 once and make y 0 once. And then you can fill them in as you figure out your answers. So when y was 0, it was negative 2 for x. And when x was 0, it was negative 4 for y. And now I can just make those 2 points. There's 0, negative 4. And now I can connect them. And there's my graph. Let's do one last one. Okay. I want to do number 9. Notice we have some fractions. So for standard form, we have to get rid of the fractions. That's the rule. Okay. So I multiply through by the denominator, which is 3. And I'm going to get my new equation. 3 times 1/3 is just 1x minus 3 times 2/3. So as I distribute here, remember the 3's are just canceling. That's why I multiply by 3, so they cancel. So it's minus 2y and then equals 4. Because the 3's cancel over on the right side too. So there's my equation. Let's make my 2 little points here. 0, comma, blank, and blank, comma, 0. And we'll do 2 quick equations to solve for it. So let's go for x. I make y 0. I'm going to go faster here. When I make y 0, it's just going to cancel that out. So it's x equals 4. Oh, that was really easy. Because I made y 0, so it's just x equals 4. Not 0. X equals 4. So my point for x is now 4, comma, 0. That's right here. Then let's do the same thing for y. This time I make x 0. I'm solving for y. So x is 0. So this is going to be 0 minus 2y. So negative 2y equals 4. Don't lose that negative sign. Don't slip on the ice. Okay, don't lose the negative sign. We'll divide by negative 2, and we get y equals negative 2. Because I divided by negative 2. So there are my 2 points, 0, negative 2 is right here, and we connect them, and there's our graph. Okay, so feel free, pause it, go back to any of the problems to try again, and then what I'd like you to do now, you could either try a couple more of these problems. In number 10, multiply through to get rid of that fraction first, and then you can start working on your homework. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.